Look at that, we got Brendan Trainor spelled correctly.
Oh, good.
Attaboy Shanimal.
Yeah.
Yay!
We doing Jews in the news?
No,
Not this week specifically.
Okay.
actually every show is a Jews in the News show.
That's for sure. The Jewish coup, I call it.
Yeah,
Schumer, Pelosi, and all that.
Yeah.
whether we want to hide
Shit.
it.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's and the world's Freedom Talk Radio.
Around the world.
Around the world. www.americamatters.us.
I'm a little down this morning.
Are you?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, Bernie Madoff passed away.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, he's in prison, huh? Wow. All right. Well, they got one white-collar criminal.
Yeah, but that's just one of them.
I know.
You know, Ponzi
This-
schemes are everywhere.
Uh-huh. Including in the federal government. And
Yeah.
that's...
Which is where he learned it, apparently.
Yes. So that's what we were going to talk about. First is 2020 has been a disastrous year for governments, whether you're aware of it or not, and Western governments in particular. And they've been exposed over and over as corrupt, venal, short-sighted, foolish. But in particular, let's talk about the justice system because of what's in the news. From the Supreme Court's failure to give guidance to the disputed national election, the failures of local government to detain and prosecute violent rioters while putting ordinary citizens who defend themselves in legal jeopardy. The justice system has betrayed the American people. But now there's two cases in particular. One is the Derek Chauvin murder trial stemming from the death of George Floyd, which touched off all of last summer's violence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
this summer, apparently.
yeah, and it's starting again this
It's going
summer.
to be a long, hot summer, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So the Chauvin trial should never have happened, at least with a murder charge. I mean, the people were sold a false narrative, and the liberal media is fanning the flames that another guilty police officer will be let off the hook, and so that the flames will continue to burn all through the summer. The most that Chauvin should have been charged with is probably second-degree manslaughter. Even that would be hard to prove. The defense is just starting its rebuttal today, and they'll probably wrap up on Friday and give final. Both sides are anticipated they'll give final arguments on Friday, and the jury will be sequestered starting on Monday to deliberate.
Oh, boy, it's coming quick, huh?
Yeah, it's been faster than anybody thought, really, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Swift justice.
yes. The case really started to unravel when the prosecution, and that they have half a dozen high-priced U.S. attorneys on the prosecution, and one defense attorney who sometimes is so tired he jumbles his words.
Well, they do reveal their desperation in so many ways.
I know.
Also in the justice environment. So.
Yeah, and they had the prosecution called a Minneapolis expert on the use of force, and he said that Chauvin could have used more force.
Yeah.
He could have tased George Floyd as soon as he arrived on the scene, but instead he opted for the restraint and the physical restraint option. And what we were told is that putting a knee on the neck is horrible and awful and
Suffocating.
yeah, suffocating. The fact is that it very rarely results in
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
That's right.
Yes. So again,
But he did here.
yeah, I mean, it was a great video op, to see Chauvin there and the people telling him to get off and all this stuff. But apparently he followed procedure, except possibly if they were going to go for second-degree manslaughter, that he kept his weight on a little bit too long.
But what if he had reached for the taser and instead pulled his service revolver?
Yeah. Well, that's what happened just the other day.
Oh, has that happened?
Yeah. It's not the first time.
It's not
either.
the first time
no,
this happened?
No. But
Both are black and kind of fit the hand and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, I don't know
and
if
in the
it,
panic of the moment.
yes. And so this policewoman we just found out today that accidentally shot the young man Dante. What was his name?
White, was it? What was his last name? I
Yeah.
can't think of his name.
Well,
Dante, Daunte.
Yeah, that was Dante Walker.
Walker, yeah.
Right. That she's been charged with second-degree manslaughter, which is negligence, right?
That's what she should be charged with.
Right, exactly. But in overcharging Chauvin to try and appease the Black Lives Matter crowd,
Right.
they
Well,
they set themselves up for a big fall.
the danger is when they overcharge and it doesn't come down,
Right.
it's really going to be trouble. It's going to be a long, hot summer. We
Yes.
thought last summer was going to be
Yeah.
really bad. This one is shaping up to be worse.
Do you think Kamala will be offering to bail people out again?
Kamala?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I heard she was laughing again this morning at the idea of going down to Guatemala, and that's all I really know about her. She is just about as how would you describe? Well, we've talked about this on the show, but the way she commits to laughter before she does anything,
Right.
almost as though she doesn't even consider how it appears,
Mm-hmm.
and she hasn't learned that lesson. It
Right.
repeats over and over again.
Yeah, she's not as polished as the Democrats would have thought, liked us to believe she
For
was.
an attorney general of California?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. So, it's just, there's just no affection for her. I don't even think on their side there really is.
No, I
much of
mean,
that.
the people didn't vote for her. She didn't get a single electoral vote, and even Tulsi got one. She didn't. She made nothing, and then they picked her out because she's a BIPOC. Are you a BIPOC?
I'm not sure. I've not heard the expression before. I might be.
Yeah, well, that's the new acronym that they're using. If you're a BIPOC, you go to the front of the line. That's a Black, Indigenous person of color.
Well, this is what I think most Americans find so offensive about the situation at the border, is these people are cutting in line.
Yes.
And you learn that, at least you used to in public schools. You don't cut in line under any circumstance. But, this culture doesn't seem to appreciate how significant that is.
Well, America's not England. In England, they stand in queues all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's go to the queue up and,
I had a great experience on my honeymoon. I'll share it with you sometime. But I'm telling you, that Kamala Harris is insufferable.
The driving force in truck and auto repair. Everybody knows. This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
welcome back. Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. So we were talking about the failure of the justice system, and one of the failures that we have seen again and again is that there's an untouchable class that cannot be convicted or receive any justice commensurate with their actions.
Jeffrey Epstein.
The
Clintons.
The Clintons,
You know.
yeah. There's a whole gamut of them. And especially if you're a Democrat. I mean, and one of the most egregious is the Hunter Biden saga,
Yeah.
in which he was paraded. He's got a book deal now. He's writing a book about the fact that he can't remember anything during the years when he was supposedly writing the book about
I don't think anybody's surprised by yeah. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. You know?
I mean, he didn't remember the woman he fathered a child with.
Right.
According to him, anyway. That's why he asked for the paternity suit.
Almost like she doesn't exist.
Right. And what did he say? Sometimes it was hard to remember if I put my pants on in the morning or something.
I didn't hear that. Was that on Kimmel?
Probably. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean that's where you would say
yeah,
that.
he gets praised and feasted and on the Jimmy Kimmel show and
Well, he's the smartest man that his father knows.
oh yeah. I hate to say it as a proud Irish American, but sometimes Joe Biden is just a dumb Mick. You know what I mean? He really is.
Well, he's made a career of it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no
We
reason
choose truth over
to,
facts.
Yeah, see, and so there's no reason to change now. It's part of the act.
Right. So, his father passed all the draconian drug laws, which were aimed
Right.
primarily at black people because white people normally snort cocaine and black people chase the dragon, which means they smoke cocaine. And that's what Biden was doing.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chasing the dragon. And, Biden has flaunted these drug laws that have sent so many people to prison, and he gets away with it, and nobody mentions that the laptop implicated his father in possible, patronage peddling overseas
Right.
and all this other stuff.
Yep.
Not a word.
With several countries. apparently.
Right. Not a word. So, and then now we've got, the Waco Wacko Chipman being nominated to head the BATF.
Yeah. He is a whack job, isn't he? Is he sane? I mean, there's a quality about him
that's really off the wall.
Right.
I know.
And it's not unlike Kamala in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if he's looking for these people, but they sure find him, don't they?
Yes. And,
Yeah.
that he would nominate this guy to that role. I mean, there's got to be some Democrats that are going to oppose him, I would think. I mean...
Well, I do think that there is an awareness on that side of the aisle of just how ridiculous all this looks, but I'm not so certain that they're concerned about it because their constituency doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've seen these on-the-street interviews, whether it's Jesse Waters, and they come up to somebody and ask reasonably relevant questions, and they're somewhere else. They can't answer these very, very simple questions.
Remember Jay Leno on the street?
Same thing. I think he kind of started that.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's why they don't address this consciously is because the people they care about don't care.
What year was the War of 1812?
That kind of thing, and it's right there. The answer is in the question, and they can't answer it. That's the kind. I mean, you just can't make that up.
I know. I mean, according to the average American voter, you and I that do this part-time, we've got a lot more sense than we have so many low-information voters out there.
Right.
Voting about sound bites that they hear on the radio or TV, and they don't think that the radio and TV is controlled by certain interests, and they just can't see through any of it, apparently.
Well, do they want to, I think, first of all, and then are they capable of it? I mean, they went to public schools, so they're not alerted to the fact that there could be an enemy within, their landscape of growing up, and so the propaganda media gets away with this day in, day out.
Right. And it's on both sides of the aisle. It's, America, love it or leave it, and America, right or wrong, but it's always right. I think George H.W. Bush said that one time,
Right.
And so...
Well, but, that comes from the globalist right. That's from the McCains and the Bushes and that crowd.
Right. So the thing is that... Chipman, when he's nominated, he has to go through hearings.
Just the fact that you said that, that he's nominated is hysterical.
I know.
That guy shouldn't be anywhere near a microphone.
No. He's going to be asked, what is he going to do about the actual violation of these gun control laws he touts all the time in Hunter Biden's case?
Right.
I mean, he was obviously using drugs, and he said he wasn't.
And he was taken by surprise by the question, wasn't he?
Yes.
He couldn't even offer or proffer an answer to the question, which means that he's just not prepared either.
No.
He's just being rewarded for for his bias, for his support of the party over the years.
Mm-hmm. And that's the. And then now we also have the Inspector General's report on January 6th,
Right.
the insurrection in the White House.
Which we call a melee.
And again, it was just total government failure.
Yeah.
They had the intelligence that the Capitol building was going to be targeted, and they ordered them to stand down because it wouldn't look right politically to have a few hundred more police there.
Now, that narrative did get out there.
That did get out, but now
But not to the extent that it should have. But we
Right.
talked about this on the show. They knew in advance this was coming, and they completely stood down.
right.
That was their response.
And now some of the riot shields were so badly stored that they fell apart during
that
the
right?
protest. Yeah.
I didn't hear that one. I mean, the
And-
shield
and-
is a shield,
And a
right?
whole bunch of them were left on a bus that was locked and nobody had the key.
This is your U.S. government, ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen.
The mightiest government in the world, the leader of the free world.
Corrupt and incompetent as it can be measured.
Right. And the thing is that as January 6th happened, our leaders, our representatives, immediately called for more government.
Yeah, it's always the answer. Yeah.
Right.
In fact, sometimes it's literally by design.
Uh-huh. Well, sometimes, yeah, it
It's literally
certainly looks
formulaic.
like
Yeah.
they make a mistake deliberately so they can enhance their power. But
Right.
even when it's not deliberate, when it's just their own negligence and incompetence, the number one thing they want is more power.
That's
That's
it.
why, the problem with the government is it cannot go out of business.
Right.
It's presumed to be there eternally.
That's right.
So
Because they're looking after us.
So, no matter what an agency does, when it comes to budget time, it's a win-win situation for them. They can say, look, we've done a pretty good job this year. Just expand our budget and
Yeah.
we'll do even more.
That's right.
Or, we admit that we made mistakes, but what we need is more money so we can correct the mistakes, They never lose, these
It's
guys.
always the same.
No. So if there was competition, that's what I'm saying. The government is presumed to never go out of business.
You mean a public
Yeah,
government partnership?
Yeah, if the government
I'm
could
just-
actually go out of business, and at least in the parliamentary system, I'm not advocating for it, but at least in the parliamentary system, when the government is really bad, it collapses and you have to form
The
a new
government falls, and then
Yeah.
they form another one just like the previous
Just
one.
like the previous one, only worse.
Yeah. At least they're always on their toes.
Yes.
Because they never know when it's going to happen.
Right. How many? They've had, 4 elections now in Israel? Yeah.
I knew we were going to go down that road here, but we're not going to do a Jews in the News segment.
No, we're
okay.
not. No,
okay.
I don't have anything, that specific about their ethnicity, although it's always present. It's omnipresent because they're so ingrained in the, again, all right, I'm going to be called all kinds of names.
Not here.
The fact is that for their size and the population, 2% or less of the population, they are overwhelmingly involved influential in the levers of power, both private and public.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it must be because they're just so darn smart. We just can't compete with them.
No, we're not going to go to segment today, Shanimal. Sorry.
I thought I'd throw it in there.
It's our engineer, Shanimal. He's right on top of things.
Well, I don't know how we can get out of this except to be eternally vigilant, like the founder said.
Well, that's what they instructed us to be.
Yes.
And to be like, but, there's no
I
hint
know.
of that in the culture anymore.
No, there's no recourse in it. The American people are becoming just more and more statist, confused, and just hoping that government will finally get something right, like maybe their relief checks or something
Yeah.
that'll be done right.
Well, they're hoping and praying is what you're saying?
Yeah, they're
Oh, I see.
hoping and praying
I
that
see.
because they don't have really anything else that they can turn to. The civil society has been decimated by all these years of the welfare state, and
That's all they know.
yeah, so it's really all they know. They're dependent on the state to a large degree.
Which is the way the statists operate.
Yes.
They cultivate it, sponsor it, and hope it prevails forever.
Yes.
Would you like more energy? A photon sound beam may be the solution you need. A photon sound beam uses electrical energy to ionize gases that generate ozone and light.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station.
the power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre. And I guess we should talk a little bit about Black Lives Matters.
Well, there seems to be some opposition to that, but I think we should go ahead with it.
The revelation of the property buying spree of Patrice Khan-Coulors is starting to raise questions even among other Black Lives Matters activists about her funding.
She's a property mogul, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Really something.
Her new home at Topanga Canyon, Los Angeles, is overpriced, but it's still very nice digs. I've seen a lot different pictures of it, but it really looks nice from the front, nicer than it looks from the back. And plus, they have that little she shack in the back, as well as the house. So
I saw a picture, but I wasn't that interested in.
Yeah.
I guess I just didn't care enough to look at the property.
But the main thing is not so much that it's a nice house, but it's in a lily white neighborhood.
Location.
Yeah, Caucasian. And it's only 1.4% BIPOC.
You're going to have to describe or define that for our listeners. I didn't know what that was.
BIPOC. Yeah. You must use a capital B, don't forget.
Okay.
But it's black.
So proper noun.
Black indigenous people of color.
Oh, it's an acronym.
It's an acronym.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's what it is, and that's a new acronym that's being used by the Biden-Harris administration.
And you heard it here first on Talking Truth to Power.
If you're BIPOC, you go to the front of the line. If you're not, well, good luck. Maybe next time.
Good luck.
So, and then, you remember Black Lives Matter's website. Now, they've taken it down since then. Originally called for communal living with shared child rearing and the absence of the nuclear family.
Absence of the family, yeah.
Right. So, and that's a very Middle Eastern concept. And that's because, Marxism is basically a Middle Eastern philosophy. But at any rate, in the Middle East, you have these large extended families, and it's actually anti-woman when you think about it.
Sure.
And because women are less free, this type of arrangement usually leads to arranged marriages, and it also leads to women being more or less stuck in the community, not going out and exploring the world on their own. And even though that would, when women go out on their own, that does expose them to more danger.
Sure it would.
But that's Western individualism. That's the trade-off that the Western culture has given in opposition to the Middle Eastern culture.
Collectivist.
Right, collectivism. And so, but apparently they've abandoned all that, or at least Patrice Khan-Coulors has.
Now, how many homes does she have?
She has the one in Malibu, or Topanga Canyon near Malibu. They seem to have a modest home in Linwood, New Jersey, which I believe is mostly black in South LA.
Oh, I saw that Linwood reference. I thought it was Linwood outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say New Jersey?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There is a Linwood, New Jersey. I got it confused. No, it's Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's South Central LA. And they also have a 2 or 3 acre ranch out in the suburbs of Georgia, complete with an airplane landing strip.
How ironic.
Yes.
I heard some of these houses do have either airstrips or heliports or something.
Yeah,
like
it's an airstrip complete with a little house for the mechanics to work on the plane.
How convenient for them.
Yes, it's very convenient.
Now, does she have anything outside of the contiguous states? I mean, there's...
well, we don't think she actually purchased it, but there are records showing that she was looking at property in the Bahamas.
Uh-huh.
And a place called Albany in the Bahamas, which is Tiger Woods' neighborhood. So at least she would have a BIPOC in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
there.
right. Misery loves company.
So, it's just another way that we are being advised after the fact that the leadership of whatever it is, whatever movement it is not exactly up and up. That they're hiding things from the American people.
It's seedy.
Yeah, kind of like the Lincoln Project on the right, Only this has become, Black Lives Matter, of course, is very powerful, and it's influencing the criminal justice system. It's influencing laws that might be passed during the Biden-Harris administration and everything else. So it's not a simple thing.
It's a mobocracy is what we're watching.
Yes,
It's just completely out of control.
Yeah.
Going back to our original segment when we began this discussion by describing the justice system and how it has strayed from us.
Right. Yeah, and it's not representing the people, but rather, it's themselves. Yeah, because and the Justice Democrats are being exposed as just us Democrats again.
You got them all, buddy.
I know. I mean,
you got them all.
AOC is being torn down by the real left on an almost daily basis. I mean, her Instagram account, I don't know if you follow her on Instagram. I don't know why you would.
I'd hate to disappoint, but I have
But,
not.
she comes on and she's got all these hand signals and all these tells that she's lying, like she scratches her nose.
So is she communicating?
She's communicating a
Privately?
word salad.
Yeah.
Excuses.
To somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the conservative Democrats that are using their power to hold up legislation. The blue dogs like Manchin and the gentlewoman from Arizona,
Serena.
Yeah. But they're the ones that are exercising power, and the Justice Democrats are shying away from any real confrontation.
But they have now a problem with Rashida Tlaib.
Yes, they do.
They want her to go away. She's just overextended her idiocy to her constituency, and nobody wants to be associated with her anymore.
Well,
she is really something. I mean, and apparently cusses like a sailor besides. There's just nothing attractive about her at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ilhan Omar is another one.
Yeah.
When she first came on, she was great, talking about the loyalty oath to Israel and it's all about the Benjamins and all this. And then lately she's just been towing the line. She even voted for sanctions on Iran. She's very, very disappointing. And
she is.
Now there is reinforcements coming, possibly.
For them?
Yeah. There's a woman that used to work for Bernie Sanders that's running for Congress in Ohio, oh gosh, I can't think of her last name. I'm having a Biden moment.
It's all right, too.
But she's a real...
The crowd seems to love it.
Yeah, she's a real firebrand. If she gets elected, she might actually whip them into line. But Nina... No, I keep thinking it's Nina Turner. It can't be Nina Turner. But at any rate, she's something to watch for if she ever gets in. And she's raising a lot of money in Ohio.
But she's a Bernie bro?
She was his chief of communications, I think.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
I can't think of her name, but I've seen that.
Yeah. And she seems like a very well-meaning, very enthusiastic leftist. But, just like we saw with the Amazon union and the defeat, overwhelming defeat of the Amazon Union.
In Georgia, of all places.
Yeah, I guess those forklift drivers are going to have to keep peeing into bottles.
Isn't that something?
Because
life's just not fair.
I know. But the working class doesn't really want all the solutions that the left has for them. Like the idea of workplace democracy, where every worker would decide the major issues confronting their job.
Would they?
Yeah, that's what
okay.
workplace democracy means.
Okay.
If you listen to wackos like Chris Hedges, that you're free to build your own company with that kind of policy where everybody votes on everything the company does. But it's just impractical, especially with a large business, 100,000 employees. And then all of these people are supposed to take responsibility for the direction of the country.
Which is why we have a representative
Company.
speaking for 700,000 people.
Right.
We can't have everybody up there making decisions.
No.
Somebody's going to have to make it for us.
Right.
So we vote for these people.
Yeah. The only thing is 700,000 is an awful that's an awful diluted representation.
Well, if we weren't so divided.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so bad. But.
Maybe we could have more or less a virtual government, I mean,
like on Zoom?
The founders wanted one representative for every 40,000 people, and now it's 800,000. So maybe we should...
except in Wyoming.
Maybe we could have 8,000 House of Representative members, and then they would all vote virtually. They wouldn't have to assemble in Washington. They could be all over the country.
But we can't trust the technology system. So
yeah, probably not at this point.
That's the trouble we're having in Arizona as we speak.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a location, apparently has been established in the audit of the Maricopa County voting.
Okay.
So that's already been established, and it looks like there's nothing that Soros can do about it. So it's really going to get interesting from here on. People have almost forgotten about election fraud.
I know.
But it's very real, and it's coming.
Yeah, it's always on to the next crisis.
Mm-hmm.
No. And there's, I heard on the radio today that there hasn't actually been a single audit done.
No, there hasn't. A forensic audit.
Yeah, of any of the ballots.
That's right.
Yeah,
but they're about to.
But you don't realize that in the fog of information that you're constantly
because
getting.
they literally tried to blow that by us. They did not want us to understand that was a prevalent part of this last general election.
Are you a skilled diesel mechanic looking for a great place to work with dynamic pay, health insurance, 401k, and other great benefits? Dynamic Diesel is looking for qualified full-time journeyman diesel mechanics to work Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
Well, welcome back. It's our final segment here, and as our wont, we're going to delve into a little foreign policy. And this is your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre. So, we were talking last week about the possibility of a war in Ukraine, and guess what? What if they called a war and nobody showed up?
Nobody showed up for it. That's the way it looks right here.
Yeah, even though, the president of Ukraine, the former comedian Zelensky, he's in a real bad spot. Nothing is going right for him, so he wanted to wag the dog and try and force the issue on the Donbass, which is the two city-states right on the border with Russia and eastern Ukraine that are ethnic Russians. And when the unconstitutional coup, and that's what Russia basically called the Ukrainian government. Somebody pointed out, Sergei Lavrov and the Russians, they never say the Ukrainian government. They say the regime in Kiev, and then something like that. And then Lavrov called them Puchniks. After the beer hall putsch, and that's the European word for a coup.
Well, we all know that was a CIA coup.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, who doesn't know that?
Now, the question is, who ordered or who told Zelensky he can move all these troops to the border?
Right.
I mean, that's the problem we've been talking about. Nobody knows who's in charge in the Biden-Harris administration.
Clearly a provocation.
Yes. I mean, now we know when Trump was indicted or impeached, that we found out that a low-level colonel was running American foreign policy, Vindeman, over the Ukraine.
Vice President Vindeman?
Yes. But we don't know who's in charge now. But Victoria Nuland is back in the government, so she could very well be in charge.
Right.
But anyway...
Well, domestically, it's Rice. It's Susan Rice.
Yeah.
It's just that it's kind of nebulous on the foreign policy stage.
Yes, exactly. So... But at any rate, we found out today that Russia was serious. They actually amassed 100,000 troops on the border, according to their defense ministry, plus missiles, plus planes.
Yeah.
So Lavrov wasn't kidding that if Zelensky actually invaded, I mean, they were breaking the ceasefire. They were shelling and firing at the Donbass patriots. But if they actually invaded... And remember, and this is also funny, CNN was caught labeling trains that were obviously Ukrainian trains. They were decked out in the Ukrainian national colors, which is teal and yellow. They kind of remind me of the Miami Dolphins uniforms. But
well, I want to cut them a little slack here because I know that a lot of these kids that are in the newsrooms now are educated in public school.
Yeah.
They don't know these things. They make grammatical errors on the crawl. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah, I see that all the time.
I mean, that is just unconscionable.
Or misspellings.
Like they don't have a spell check in the system for them to use. If they can't spell, use the spell check. I don't know. What I've seen over the last several years is just, kind of hard to watch. This is the trend.
Right. And but the fact is that CNN was exposed for blatant propaganda.
Yep.
Saying that the Ukrainian trains moving tanks to the border were actually Russian trains. So
it's a tank. A tank's a tank.
Shut up.
NATO has been exposed as a paper tiger. They didn't have any way of getting enough troops there. All of their troops are way up in the Balkans and in Poland. They couldn't possibly get them down to the Ukraine in time. And
Poland can't be a player in this.
No.
They're not anywhere close to the scene.
No. But the thing is that, and Zelensky made a desperate plea. He wanted to fast-track NATO membership. And I understand Blinken told him, maybe sometime.
Our audience seems to like that one.
Yeah. But Russia had the country locked down, although they never entered the country.
Right.
With their air defense systems, they were already jamming communications, military communications, which they are world-class experts at, and plus they have their S-400 defense systems that could track even the F-35 airplane. That it's not a stealth airplane as far as Russia is concerned. And their fighter jets could maintain air superiority in dogfights. They're much faster and more maneuverable than the F-35 is. So that would be, it was hopeless. And Zelensky knew it was hopeless.
Sure.
And finally, Biden, a couple of weeks after he called Putin a killer, he had to call Putin on the phone and say, "Can we work something out here?
How humiliating is that?
Can we save face?"
Yeah.
And one way he did it was by explaining that they talked about a variety of issues. They talked about Syria, they talked about Libya, blah blah blah. But what they were really talking about was the Ukraine, and that's what they're trying to hide.
How are we going to save face?
Yeah. And then we're threatening to send the Navy into the Black Sea, and Russia said, if you get anywhere near Crimea, you're toast.
Yep.
And suddenly, no, maybe we won't send those destroyers into the Black Sea.
Does Blinken know this?
Yeah. Now, the thing is, Russia is in no way capable of invading Europe. I mean, the supply line problem, if they invaded Europe, NATO would have, as numerically, many more troops.
He has no interest in
that. And they have no interest in doing that. I mean, the idea of occupying countries like after World War II is just nothing close to reality. What do they... I mean, they would have to pay for all the security. They'd have to commandeer the economies. It's just impossible that Russia is a real threat to Europe. And so the whole thing is a farce. It's just a way to generate military-industrial complex profits, right? And Biden is asking for an increase in the military budget again.
Right.
Even though he says he has promised now that we're going to pull out unconditionally from Afghanistan by September 11th.
They love anniversaries, don't they?
Yes, they
There's
do.
something about anniversaries. If they got something they can do today, well, wait, there's something coming up at the end of the year. What is that now? And they look at the calendar. Oh, yeah, it's the 20th anniversary of the Twin Towers going down.
Yes.
So let's celebrate that with this.
Yeah, by acknowledging defeat.
This is how they think.
I know.
It is the strangest damn thing.
I know. I think the bigger question is, will Biden be unconditionally present in the White House on September 11th?
Yeah, good point. Because 6 months from now?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
It could be the Harris, formerly Biden administration. And then Iran, of course, is blaming Israel for a cyber attack on its nuclear processing plant in Nanans, and they're promising some kind of revenge for that. And we have to keep in mind that Iranian enrichment is not in violation of the original JCPOA. What they said in the JCPOA is that they will voluntarily take extra protocols just to ensure their good faith, and so they would not enrich uranium up to medical levels, which is about 25 or 30%. They ratcheted it all the way down to 3 to 4%. But after the U.S. pulled out of the accords, then they started eliminating those extra protocols as a way to hopefully pressure Europe into standing up for them and doing something about the sanctions. So
now that we have a reversal to the mean,
right,
we're right back to where we were.
Where we were, yeah. So, and Iran is 6 months away from getting a bomb for 30 years now. So,
even though Israel has 200 to 300 of them.
Right. And Iran actually boldly said that as long as we're talking about us, why don't we talk about Israel and their bombs? But, of course, that was met with shocked silence in the diplomatic circles. So, and Raytheon Lloyd has invited Israel to be a participant, although they're not going to be able to sit down. Iran would never sit down with them. But it's going to keep them in the loop regarding these the new negotiations that haven't really started. They're just preliminary negotiations. The U.S. is not directly involved, as I understand it. The EU countries and Iran are trying to establish preliminary protocols as to when the U.S. would get involved. But there's going to be Iranian elections in a little while. And, the hardliners are likely to take more power. So that might make negotiations even harder. So it doesn't. But the main point is that the Biden administration is just completely scattershot. They have no idea what they're doing as far as foreign relations, domestically probably too, but...
Well, yeah, in both areas.
Right.
Both landscapes are a complete mess.
Right.
We can all see it.
I mean, he talks tough, and then he immediately capitulates. He talks too tough, and then he has nothing to fall back on, and he capitulates. He's trying to be Trump, I think. Don't you think he's trying to talk tough like
I don't know.
Like Trump did with, remember North Korea initially? It was... if you shoot another missile, there'll be fire and fire and fury. He said way back then, yeah. And then of course he actually negotiated with them. So I think they're trying to play the same playbook, but they just don't have the same actors involved.
You know Michael Moore?
Yeah, I know him.
I've never seen anything he's produced, but he's demanding that Governor Gretchen Whitmer shut down all of Michigan again.